Why is Wikipedia allowing its editors to place an opinion, an op-ed, not a scientific journal, as a citation to call it misinformation? Meanwhile, BMJ actually has a study which says, you actually found this. Now, I have no problem saying if it's contentious and there's conflicting scientific studies, then it requires more data. I have no problem saying that. I have no problem saying some have found that it may actually do this. Others have contested it. I think it's a fair thing to do. Why would Wikipedia put an op-ed as a scientific citation? Well, that seems absurd.
So, Tim, one of the things about Wikipedia, I've had to dig into this because, of course, I'm slandered and defamed on Wikipedia in every which way, and they still claim that. Yes, I'm sure.
Mine's locked. No one can change it. Like, they locked in all the negative stuff on me, and you can't do anything about it.
Wikipedia has some quirks, just like a lot of the AIs do. A lot of the AIs and Wikipedia don't actually cite peer-reviewed literature. They have a list of sources that you're allowed to use in building your edits to the Wikipedia page. And most of those are aligned with the Trusted News Initiative. They're basically the big news outlets. And so they don't go into peer-reviewed literature. That's actually disallowed both by many of the AIs for training purposes as well as for Wikipedia. And so you find the situation like, just not to make it about myself, but I had all of these attacks that are recited again and again and again on Wikipedia, but no references to my actual 100-plus peer-reviewed papers. That's not allowed. It's a very strange ecosystem, information ecosystem associated with Wikipedia that's really biased towards supporting and enforcing corporate media.
I'd like to just pull up one other, because I actually have many different studies. This is, I hope everybody's, look, let me just give you the quick overview one more time before I show all of these different studies, which maybe they're wrong. I have no idea. I'm not a scientist, right? At the very least, if there is a debate over the issue, and there are claims by people in science-based mag or whatever that website is, claiming it's misinformation, it should be, here is a scientific study that found no correlation or inconclusive data, and here's a study that challenges, here's a study that supports. The issue is widely debated, with some saying yes, some saying no. I'm fine with that, if that was the case. But when they lead with, it's misinformation because this guy called the woman stupid and said so, and then I just Googled it, and I have a list of various peer-reviewed studies showing a link between either glyphosate, autism spectrum disorders, autism-related disorders, or pesticide in general. This one from, and I think this is the stupidest name for a journal, but they went with it, PNAS. So
it's the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences.
Well, I want to just jump in because you're pointing out the exact problem in the world we live in.
Real
right?
quick, just so I can show this real quick. This is maternal glyphosate exposure causes autism-like behaviors in offspring through increased expression of soluble epoxide hydrolase, and this is PNAS. They're going to mention that there's a correction for this article that I should check out, and there's always something in it where they say correction, yada, 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 by these individuals. First published, the author's note. The author's name should appear as Debin, Debin Wan, not Wang. They apologize for the error. But when they put out this thing and saying there's a correction on it, that's often used to say, hey, this is not legit. Yeah. There's a SCRP. You're familiar with SCRP? Is that another?
I don't know what the acronym is. I don't know.
Scientific Research Academic, SCIRP.
So that is not if you want to dig into this, this is actually Journal of Behavioral and Brain Science.
Ah, I see. Okay. It's listed up there. This is an aggregator. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look, you should just look at the research that got presented in the courts, because Bayer Monsanto had to settle billions in lawsuits, right, for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that's what
NHL. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the links to obesity and autism is new science that's coming.
Yeah, and it's because there's too many confounding variables. It's hard to prove in a court of law. That's what Bobby was arguing.
I will just say settlement does not mean fact.
No.
A company that usually settles because litigation is more expensive, and that's probably the majority of lawsuits.
But typically, in order to have a precedent, there's like there's a lot of science in order to even have that precedent. That's what kind of Bob.
But, I mean,
I disagree with the lawsuit thing. I don't think it's a good example.
Yeah, but I think you have to get to this point. Is what we're all trying to say is there a signal or is there not a signal? Does this deserve more research? And we're living in a time where they keep telling us the science is settled. There are laws right now that they're trying to pass all across this country to give the same liability protection to glyphosate that's sprayed on all of our crops, so you will never be able to sue. You'll never be able to go into courtroom again, just like we have with vaccines. So why would you need liability protection if the product is perfectly safe? We know we have issues. These are real signals. And to your point, Wikipedia, our media, mainstream, is absolutely screaming misinformation. They did it all throughout COVID. We have a congressional investigation, a 500-page document that comes out and says social distancing, 6 feet, was made up, had no science behind it, even though Tony Fauci stood in front of cameras and said to us, if you question me, you're questioning the science. Now he admits in front of the Congress there was no science in the 6-foot distance rule. There is no science that masks actually stop transmission. All of these, the vaccine couldn't stop transmission, even though it said it was 95% effective. Yet still, every one of those news organizations talk about those of us that called that out from the very beginning, that we're still the ones spreading misinformation when our government clearly caught, Rand Paul has pointed this out, clearly was the one distributing misinformation. They continue, Wikipedia is a misinformation vessel, and most of mainstream is. But can we just talk really quickly, because the science around this glyphosate in the gut and autism, first of all, I'd be the first to say we don't have enough science on any of this. It is so hard to get decent investigations because you're being blocked by the industry itself, which has been controlling your regulatory agencies, which is the light at the end of the tunnel with Robert Kennedy Jr. You finally have someone that doesn't work for any of these industries going in and saying, we're going to do real peer-reviewed science and put it all on the table. But what's very fascinating about glyphosate, whether it does or does not, autism, the heart of this, the whole MMR conversation with Andrew Wakefield, who's the big baddie, the first doctor to ever connect MMR and the potential of autism. But it was an intestinal study. The guy he was a gastroenterologist back in the late 1990s, who all these parents said, my child has what looks like Crohn's disease, but they got it right after they had autism, and I'm wondering if there's a connection. That's what his study started with. It got sidetracked into being about a vaccine, but the question was this a neurological disorder or was it a gut disorder? And what he started looking into is it appears to be directly connected with the gut.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.